I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for coming. First item on our business is an annual report from the Christmas Town Kiwanis, Bluegrass from the forest, and that will be presented to us today by somebody I've known for 35 years. Dwayne Wilson. Dwayne, come up and share your report with us, please.
Thank you, Mayor Krantz. Our event this year was in May 17th, 18th, and 19th. I've included a copy of our request for reimbursement, and it has a lot of stuff for a lot of information for each of you, three commissioners, and for Mr. Whedon. And then I also just included a little bit to show the methodology of how we obtain all this information. So I'll go through this real quick and then talk about that just for a second. So we had the most campers we've ever had on site was 110 paid campers, and there's 2 to 3 people in each camp on site. Excuse me. And we had a total attendance of about 2,050, we guess. Dave Miser at the high school helps us with that. Plus, we had over $2,500 in PayPal pays, so we know where those guys are coming from, and that's where we get a lot of this other information. We had 120 hotel stays, in room stays, and that's 2 to 3 people in each room also. There wasn't a room anywhere around Shelton. In fact, we had 2 of the performers stay at a friend's house, and then somebody from Seattle got to take their rooms at the motel. So although Shelton was full, the casino was full. We had people staying in Olympia, Alderbrook, out in the canal, other places on the canal. So, and then we've also, as you look through the zip codes, for those of you that have this, we have from 55 miles or less, 55 miles or more, attending from out of state. And there's lots from Oregon. We probably almost get more people from Oregon than we do from Mason County, I think. So it's, I think we do fulfill our obligation of, as they say in the business, putting heads in the bed, so bring people in from out of town. So we use this survey form that I included with you, and we ask where they stayed, how far they came from. Most of these questions come from the state, and so we just include them in our survey so we can answer them. And then the PayPal information from the campers. And then as people come in and I also included a program. We ask when they get the program for folks to give us their zip code. A lot of times they don't mind giving you that information, but they don't like to give you some of the other stuff we ask for. But they will give you that. So it was a good festival. Excuse me. We just recently donated $3,000 of the money we made from it to the soccer park to buy another irrigation machine, a $9,000 machine, and we shared a third of the cost with the soccer park and Green Diamond. So that's where the money goes. All stays in Mason County.
Good.
Any questions?
Questions or comments? Well, what I would say is that you would agree that probably getting close to having a new hotel move into Shelton and provide more beds for these kind of events.
We definitely need one. I think we'd fill it up for that weekend for sure. So
I thank you for your work. How long have you been doing this?
This is our 13th year.
You've been the guy kind of for 13 years?
Yes.
And you also
Myself
play
and
an
Greg
instrument.
Linder.
And you also play an instrument too, right?
More or less.
What do they call that? Do they call it a bow fiddle, or do they call it a bass fiddle?
It's a stand-up bass.
Yeah.
So I don't get to play much here, but when we go promote our festival at other festivals, then I get to meet people and jam.
Yeah.
So kind of busy here.
I greatly appreciate your involvement in the community and doing this. And if we knew as a city, basically a little ahead if I thought about rooms that they could stay locally, I'd be happy to give a bedroom to somebody for that
Seriously,
event.
we'll
in
fill
my
it up.
house.
I'll remember that.
If we knew that, it's, I'd rather have them do that than have to drive from Bremerton or something. So if we knew ahead of time, I'd never even thought about it. But I think that maybe there'd be more people in the community that'd be open to do something like that.
I'll keep that in mind. We had 75 people that stayed with family and friends too,
Wow.
as they indicated on the survey. So.
Any other questions, comments?
I just think it's great.
Yeah.
It's a great event, and thank you so much for all the hard work. It seems like you have it fine-tuned by this point.
Well, we're learning every year, improve a little bit every year, and our Christmas Town Kiwanis puts it on, and all our folks have done it for 13 years.
Yeah.
So, and they're all good people. work hard for it, so
Well,
we appreciate the city's support.
I have some of the Oregon people that come to attend. So.
Oh, good.
So anyway,
That's
they
nice to
enjoy
hear.
it.
Thank you very much,
All
Dwayne.
right, thank you.
Appreciate the report. Good afternoon. All right, next is we have something about an employee of the month. So, Mark, you're going to pronounce this or something? Announce this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, Commissioners. Actually, first, I'll preempt the Employee of the Month presentation to recognize a city employee that's leaving us today. Kurt Johnson has announced his retirement from the city after 17 years of service. So I think it's important to recognize all that Kurt has contributed to the city over those 17 years and publicly recognize him for everything that he's done. A couple of the big projects Kurt has been involved with is the project manager of the fire station remodel and construction project that added the bays, turned a 1932, right? Yep. 1932 building into current structure, saved the historic structure from 1932, added bays, living quarters to that. How much was that project? How many millions? Yeah, about $4 million project. Managed the reconstruction of the upstairs here that brought the rest of the city staff into this building, not just the police and the courts, but brought all administration, finance, community development, engineering, planning, all of those departments into this building as well. And there's a lot of projects on a daily basis that really, I'm not going to list for you today, but they all included all the city buildings, the Civic Center, the library, a lot of projects down there. The museum recently went through a facelift with Kurt's management expertise. Again, the fire station and other outside buildings at treatment plants and city shops as well. Kurt's not only leaving, but he's taken 17 years of institutional knowledge with him from the city of Shelton, which is going to be really hard to pass up. He's got a lot more than 17 years of experience in electrical, plumbing, construction, HVAC, and other trades that really probably impossible to replace. But we're going to give it a shot with his with the fine job he's done in leaving us in good hands here. I'm reminded about that on a regular basis as the last week has gone by, and Kurt's talked about PBXs and UPSs and phone systems and fire alarm systems and elevators and a lot of stuff that I'm trying to glean from him before he heads out the door, so we can manage that in the best possible way that we can. But today is to wish Kurt, best of luck in his future endeavors and thank him for all that he's done. I know he didn't want to make a big ceremony about this, so we've just got a certificate, and I can hand it off to him, and anybody who wants to wish him well on his, on his next step can do that at any time when they run into him. So.
Well, it came kind of quick. I just got the email yesterday or today, and so all I can say is I've had a great relationship with you and the city of Shelton. You have a great attitude, and you truly are irreplaceable. So you will be missed, and I'm sure I speak from a lot of people. But anyone else would like to chime in here? You feel anyone from the audience is welcome to say anything they want at this moment because. The good things, so.
Did you get the new phone system going yet?
It's on its way.
It's on its way.
You can't go until that's done.
And it's got a great manager that will implement
Okay.
it. It'll be everything will be great.
I started in the building, in this building when it opened, worked in the downstairs and with functions and events. And I always saw you floating around here and doing your thing. If I had a problem, I could call Kurt. I never had a problem, but yeah, so we're going to miss seeing you. Remember the time you took me on the roof
Yeah.
and showed me on the roof?
That was Mount St. Helens.
Yes.
We wanted to see you.
Yes, just simple things like that. We're going to miss you.
I would just like to say that during the time that I worked for the city, not in a commission role, I enjoyed very much working with you. And I don't know if everyone knows that you scared me to death one day when you handed me a sack with rattlesnake eggs in it.
Oh!
I remember that.
People from finance came running over to see what had happened. So,
It
yes.
was actually a piece of wire with a rubber band and a button wound sets rattlesnake eggs for fishing. They hatched, of course, as soon as
Yeah,
you opened.
yeah. It was a practical joke, and he got me good.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'll miss seeing you around. I never got you back for that, so there's still time.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, now for our Employee of the Month of July. I've got the pleasure of presenting Jason Dose, our Senior Planner at the City of Shelton, the Employee of the Month for the month of July.
He didn't know.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
So,
Oh.
Jason will want to speak.
Get out of the way.
So, during Jason's 10 years with the City of Shelton, he's proven to be the ultimate can-do employee. A recent example of this was his manager of the city's code enforcement duties while simultaneously taking the lead role in the city's comprehensive plan rewrite, handling all development and land use planning permits, and breaking in a department director, this guy, that knows very little about land use planning. Through the application of his unique negotiating tactics, creative reasoning, and good-spirited tenacity, Jason was successful in facilitating the cleanup of several derelict properties in Shelton over his time. A Shelton resident recently wrote to Jason stating, "I am trying so hard to get our neighborhood cleaned up, and without you, nothing would have been done at all. I thank you so much." So we saw some of that work on the south side of town. Jason's work effectively in multifaceted role isn't anything new for him. In addition to his primary role as senior planner, he's also successfully served as the city's recycling coordinator and as, again, the acting community development director prior to my appointment. Jason's personally committed to the betterment of Shelton. He is often seen taking time to clean up a variety of litter and trash on his way to and from work each day. Earlier this summer, he also rescued a lost elderly dog from certain demise, yeah? When he heard a faint whimper coming from the bottom of an overgrown ditch up on Ravenna Trail. Jason was able to reunite the dog with its owners without incident, so we even have him to thank for helping out dogs and picking up litter to and from his way to work. It's also true that Jason is regularly approached by local admirers for his quick selfie as proof that they have met him. So somewhere in
There's a story
the
behind
world.
I won't bore you with that.
So again, Jason Dose is the City of Shelton's July Employee of the Month.
Bye.
He does a great job.
I won't bore you with this speech. You call it a can-do. I would argue, with relation to the comp plan, which will come before you someday, it's more of an am-doing kind of attitude. That's been going on a while. And I won't say exactly the dog incident ended without incident. Do you mind if I tell him the story? So anyway, this poor dog apparently had been lost for a few days. He was quite thirsty, so I get him some water when I came into the office, and he proceeded to vomit up every bit of that water he drank.
Oh, in the office?
In Andy's
In
cube.
Andy's.
So,
Oh, man.
minor incident, but yeah. So, and I didn't find the owners. Animal Control took it. They posted it online. They found the owners. So all I did was bring this cute little guy into work. So, and let him vomit on Andy's floor. So, thank you.
He's great to have around because I can say to him, there's really a house that needs to be looked at, and a bad one, and you got it cleaned up
Did I?
over here,
Okay.
mostly.
There have been a few. There's so many. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're getting there.
So thank you very much for your service for the city, and you deserve the award.
Thank you.
All right, next is general public comment, and Vicki Look will tell us if we have, I think, somebody signed up.
We do. Mary Eggleston.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, it's me again. I just would like to address just a couple things real quick. I read, again, the journal, and I'm pleased to know and hear that we are going to at least have a vote for the city council, because the people I've talked to in this city want a city council I was hoping that you, Mayor, and I don't know you personally, and I apologize for that, as a person in this town, but I thought maybe you would have a little more faith in the people of the city of Shelton, that if they didn't want it, they won't vote on it, and if they do want it, they will vote on it. And I know you were disappointed that it was put to the ballot, but you have to have faith in the people, and it has to be, if the people care for you and care for the city, they're going to vote on what they think the city wants best. And I don't think it has anything to do against you. I think it has to do with improving the city of Shelton and giving the people a chance to have more of a voice. That's all.
Thank you for your comments, Mary.
You're welcome.
Pat Vandehey.
Patricia Vandehey, 111 Southeast Lupin Place in Shelton. I too would like to add my delight when I found out that there is going to be a petition before in the ballot in the fall for deciding on increasing the number of commissioners. I think it's long overdue. What we have now has been in effect for 72 years, and I don't think it has anywhere near done anything that has helped the city. We need more of the citizens' input without any oversight from any other department. It should be totally independent, and it should be they should be given a chance to go over all the information and read it and think about it and make a decision. We're the only city in the whole state of Washington that's still operating on these 3-person commissions, and it just doesn't work out. And this is going to be I think, a much better process and much more democratic. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
That's it.
That's it? All right. Moving on, we have our weekly commission reports, and so Commissioner Moore.
Okay. Did everyone make it to Pancakes in the Park last weekend?
No.
Oh man, it was a good time. I took the early shift, so I missed a lot of people, but I was there serving. Goodness, I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, so this week I have a briefing on Thursday as usual. I will be attending Music in the Park on Thursday evening. On Friday, I will be attending the Sweet Earth Expansion Celebration at our Sweet Earth Farm Store on Railroad Avenue. And that is it for the week.
All right, Commissioner McDowell.
Tuesday, I have my left board meeting. Thursday, I have my briefing with Ryan, and Friday, I am going to be attending the Exceptional Foresters 60th year anniversary celebration out at Squaxin Island Community Kitchen. And that is Friday. And remember, Election Day tomorrow, everybody. It's really important, too, because to get your ballot in on time, because there are people that will put it in some of the mailboxes around town, and sometimes they miss the mailing because post office picks it up at 2:30 in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they're thinking that they can get it in there and have it safe. So make sure that everybody puts their ballots in and checks the time. Thank you.
I am also planning to attend on Friday, the Exceptional Foresters celebration. Other than my daily conversations with citizens and staff briefings, I have no other city-sanctioned board meetings to attend this week. So that completes our weekly commission reports. And next, we'll be moving into the business agenda. And first on that is Community Development Director Mark Ziegler is going to talk to us about a historical bandsaw and other things.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Today I'm bringing you a recommendation from the Shelton Historic Preservation Board to place the historic log monument and bandsaw monument on the City of Shelton's Historic Register. These structures are located up at Overlook Park on the south side of town on Highway 3. The Shelton Historic Preservation Board has conducted a review of these structures. Amongst the criteria in that review are 4 categories, including significance of the structures, their historic integrity, the age, and the specific criteria or area of significance. The log monument is a 10-foot diameter, 2.5-foot thick cross-section of Douglas fir tree from the Grisdale operations of Simpson Logging Company. The upper half is carved with the city of Shelton, followed below by home of the evergreen forest. The lower half is carved with dates depicting important events in world history, starting with the sprouting of the tree in 1289 and ending with the first commercial logging in 1853 in Mason County, so when commercial logging started there. It was erected by the Mason County Forest Festival Association and dedicated to the centennial of commercial logging in Mason County, which was 1853 to 1953. The Bandsaw Monument is a large bandsaw wheel that sits on 2 metal cradles with a metal saw blade coming out of the monument's concrete base. It wraps around the bandsaw, going back into the concrete base on the other side. One of the largest ever built, it's an 11-foot wheel, ran on the Shelton waterfront from 1926 to 1962. The bandsaw wheel was the largest ever that was casted for a head rig to cut logs into lumber. The bandsaw was powered by steam, and the lumber industry, it really was significant in the lumber industry because it could cut old growth timber with diameters of 6 to 9 feet at that time, and the average production went from less than 30,000 board feet a day to surpassing 100,000 board feet a day with the installation of this large bandsaw. Again, the saw wheel was used from 1926 to 1966, about 40 years, supporting all those in the logging and lumber industry, which was obviously at that time the leading industry in Mason County. So the commission has the opportunity in front of them today to, if they concur, to place the historic bandsaw and log monument structures at Overlook Park on the action agenda for August 7th.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mark, I had a question about this. Which criteria are you suggesting that it be placed under? I was going through, so obviously under number 6 on page 4, I just was curious as to if you had identified specific criteria it being placed under.
Well, I think the age certainly is one criteria, as well as the significance, the area of significance and the historic integrity of both structures. So I think they fall into a number of those categories that the Historic Preservation Board reviewed those under. They certainly have multiple categories rather than just one that they would fall within.
I was thinking, especially as I read through this, under the specific criteria area of significance, definitely under number 1 and number 4 as well, regarding the economic past and the cultural significance of our history here.
By all means.
So, yeah, I'm excited. It's been way too long since we put anything new on our historic.
And there will be
register.
a marker up there explaining,
We would place a marker, designating the
and it kind of
structures.
explaining, is there a way of
it-
placing something there?
Well,
to
there's
explain?
information there's some plaques at each site that
Right.
explains the dedication of each, and so the historic monuments, once they're placed on the historic register, then a monument would be erected that just says that they're placed on the historic register and
Okay.
the titles of them. We certainly could, we don't have the depth of the staff report that was included in your briefing located on the site, but we certainly could look at providing some more of that information on site and some additional signage or something that may be explained.
Years ago, we got a grant for those plastic plaques that had a little more information, and they were almost all destroyed immediately. So I don't know. If we do something like that, it would have to be some material that would be
We certainly have to take
stronger.
into consideration
Yeah.
all of the environmental elements as well as the
Yeah.
other elements that might come into play with.
But if we just have a little information, that's all the more reason to send people over to the museum too. So, thank you. I'm all in favor of this.
Yep.
One question here. I'm sure this would have been considered an old growth tree, seeing as how it was planted, and you say 1289?
It's,
That
yeah,
would
they
follow
determined
it.
it's
That's not
it's
second
sprouted.
growth.
It sprouted. I don't know if anybody planted it. I think they determined that it sprouted about that time, yes.
All right. That's an old tree. Okay,
It
it
is an old
appears we concur to place this on the August 7th action agenda. So,
Yep.
thank you very much. All right, next, you're up again with an ordinance concerning our, and first reading of the adoption of our building codes.
Yes, thank you. As part of the normal 3-year process, I'm bringing to you to the commission the adoption of the 2015 International Building Codes and Washington State Administrative Code amendments. There's an attached ordinance that identifies the updates that we made to the Shelton Municipal Code under Chapter 18, Section 18.06, the Building and Construction Codes. The Washington State Legislature revises the state building codes on a 3-year cycle. The intent of the adoption of the international building codes by the legislature is to remain consistent with state laws regarding construction processes. This code update reflects the upgrades made in the building industry for technology, processes, standards, and language, providing the minimum requirements to safeguard the public safety, health, and welfare through affordability, structural strength, means of egress facilities, stability, sanitation, light and ventilation, energy conservation, and safety to life and property from fire and other hazards attributed to the built environment. The proposed amendments would repeal all existing adopted code text listed under Shelton Municipal Code Chapter 18, Section 18.06, and the proposed adoption of the 2015 International Codes will demonstrate compliance with the state of Washington mandates and keep pace with advances in the building industry. So this is something that's mandated by the state of Washington to adopt these codes and really falls in line with every other jurisdiction. We're a little bit behind them in adopting 2015 codes due to some staffing changes and really not knowing where this was until, new staff came on board and got to looking at our existing code. We don't anticipate that this will result in any realized fiscal impacts to city, its residents, or business community. The rate structures are essentially separate from this, and that copies of the code books are available in city's offices Monday through Friday between 8 and 5, or residents can simply give us a call, set up an appointment, talk with myself or the building official if they have any questions. If this commission concurs, we ask for a first reading of the ordinance today and placing the ordinance on the August 7th commission meeting with the second reading and adoption.
Questions or comments for Mark Ziegler?
No, I was just going to say it seemed like there weren't any significant changes that I noticed, anything terribly different that jumped out at me.
I can't speak to specifics. I certainly don't know the code book. There's obviously changes within the code, but yeah, as far as I know, I don't think that there's really anything that's going to be of surprise, especially at this late of date of adopting it to
Yeah, really.
anybody in the construction industry.
Yeah, I was really glad to see at least the mention in here of the alternate materials and a method to use those, or a method to bring something like that in. So, good. I'm in favor.
Yeah, we're mandated by the state, so I don't know how many options we have on this. I think this is what we need to do. It seems to make things almost simpler because everyone's following the same rule book. In the old days, that wasn't true, and so you jump from county to county or city to city, and you'd have a different in every place. So I think it needs to be done. Questions or comments? Sounds good. So it appears that we concur to place this on the August 7th action agenda and set a public hearing. But first, I think we need to have a reading of this ordinance.
Okay, ordinance 1904-0717, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, amending Title 18 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to building codes.
Okay, and then we're placing it on the action agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, we have some transportation issues, grant issues. So we're going to turn this over to our Public Works Director, Craig Gregory.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The Public Works Department is seeking authorization to apply for a couple of Transportation Improvement Board grants. The first of which would be a project that would run from First Street to C Street on Alder and Olympic Highway North. It would be a fairly large project that would include intersection improvements, new asphalt streets, illumination, sidewalks, streetscape, ADA ramps, and ADA improvements, stormwater improvements, and would be, right now, the engineer's estimate for that project is estimated to be approximately $4.2 million. This grant application is due to TIB by August 18th, and we have been working with Gray and Osborne through a contract with them to get a 10% design to scale that project and see exactly what it would entail and what it would actually cost.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I failed at figuring this out right now. So with our grant match, what would the match amount be?
We would be looking at around almost $1.3 million of city funds to
Okay.
go towards that project. That wouldn't be, well, that would be the match. It wouldn't be fully city funds. We have already started talks with PUD3 and MTA to form partnerships for this project. The talks have gone very well so far. PUD has talked about providing illumination the entire distance of that project, which would be fabulous, which would go towards the grant match that we would need. And also MTA has been contacted and has talked about some rapid flashers for crosswalks and also the bus pullout at 8th Street. So that would also go towards the match. There are some stormwater upgrades that we would need to do. So it wouldn't be all street money coming out of the city either. There would be some out of the utility stormwater to do those upgrades that would go towards the match. So we haven't figured that out exactly or what that would look like. So worst case scenario, you would be looking at around $1.3 million in match, but not all of that would be city funds and not all of it would be out of transportation.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting just to think that we actually have match money now.
It is very exciting. It was
It's
good to
amazing.
know. Want to thank Finance for getting us those numbers and pulling all that together in fairly short order to let us know exactly where we were at with funding. So
Yeah.
that certainly helped.
Now, I almost hate to ask this, but is this specific grant, I realize there's a date to turn it in and all that, but is it part of the monies that would be affected by the state budget?
It is not. They are in the general budget. They are not in the, TIB is not affected by the capital budget. Theirs is set forward in the general budget, so they have not been affected at all
Okay.
with no capital budget moving forward at
Well,
this
that's
time.
good news.
Yes, it was very
Okay,
good news.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments for Craig Gregory?
You know, we have people speaking the rumors around town. We have this money in this fund, a TBD fund, and why aren't we taking that money and doing some smaller projects? Can you explain the way you explained it to me, that we were saving this money for match grants, grant matching, which makes our money go further?
That is correct.
What-
Yes.
Could I interject for
Sure.
just a second? I wrote this down last night. So I wanted to say it, and then you can talk, okay? So what we're doing is using partnerships and the TBD money for matching funds so we can get the biggest bang for our buck in street repair. So, to answer your question, and I'll let him talk, but I was so excited that I wrote that down, it didn't seem to answer your question. I want to get that, what we're trying to do is leveraging so we get a $4 million project for not 1.3 because of partnership, but even less than that. And that the success of this grant money and doing it right can push us ahead a lot farther than using that existing pool of money, in my opinion. Now, you can answer the question, but I want to make sure I snuck that in.
That is correct. There were quite a few different factors that went into determining what projects to go after and what we have actually done. But I guess what is very important with this is we haven't necessarily dipped into the TBD money at this point, but we have done quite a few in-house paving projects, residential streets. We went back through our records, and over the last 5 years, we've done right around 40 blocks of residential streets, and most of that was through either general fund money or the majority of it was through REAP money. So with the TBD money just coming in middle of last year, it started, and not knowing where those funds were at, it would have been difficult to expend any of those without knowing exactly where we were at. This last year would have been the first year we could have budgeted for it, but I think the mayor did hit it right on the head as far as what we are trying to do. When we sat down, when I first moved into this job 8 or 9 months ago, we sat down with the entire crew and said, what are our priorities? What drives those priorities? Are they gravel roads? Are they residential roads? Are they larger projects that need to be done? And it really came down to the economy of scale and really what we were looking at for budget and prioritizing what was costing us the most. And what came out of that were gravel streets really were the lowest priority at this point. I know that they are not what we necessarily want this town to have, but at this point with our funding and what we had at that point to get paving projects done, to maintain a gravel road is the least expensive road to maintain. We've also got asphalt roads out there that need to continue to have maintenance done on them, which are fairly expensive, and the more that you let those roads go, the more expensive they get as you move forward with repairs. So as we can see on this project with Alder Street, it's gotten to a point where it is very difficult. It's not going to be just a road that you go in and just overlay and it's done. It's past that point, so we are looking at several different options. It also goes back to just leveraging funds not only through partnerships, but I guess I would call the TIBA partnership because we are utilizing their money instead of ours. But to qualify for those, it's not just residential streets that you're talking about. Actually, you can't apply for grants through residential streets. There's a map of our federally classified routes, and those streets to apply for a grant have to be designated as a federally classified route, which those colored roads are. And fortunately for us, we have quite a few federally classified routes. Most towns have a few. We have a large number of our roads that are major arterials that are designated. So we have the opportunity to apply for those grants. And with some of those other roads, especially the gravel roads, there are other factors that I think maybe the public doesn't see. And a lot of it is right-of-way. There are reasons that those haven't been paved, whether it be right-of-way, there's utility extensions that were scheduled that maybe have been deferred because of funding. Basin 4 is a perfect example. You've got Puget Street, which is one of our worst streets in town as far as a gravel road goes, but it's in Basin 4. And we have deferred Basin 4 for quite some time. It's been just pushed down the road. But we didn't want to go in and pave a road and just a few years later have to tear that road up to put a new sewer line under that road. So looking at those priorities and looking what the infrastructure might be that might be out a little further, we have deferred paving those roads for that reason. So there's a lot of that too, that if a road is still gravel, in most cases, there's a reason why it is still gravel. It's not just that we have just put it off and said we don't want to do that road. It is something, a bigger factor that may figure into it.
On those roads, you've listed all the roads that need to be read. They're in order of getting to them eventually, right?
Correct. And
Yes.
through the paving that we've done over the last 5 years with in-house projects, with those 40 blocks, there have been some gravel roads that have been done. There's been a lot of overlays, but for the most part, it has been the biggest cost and biggest effort for time with city employees. So, and those were small enough. The other thing that you have to consider is there are bid limits on what we can do in-house, which limit you to, even if you do, let's say, a storm project along with paving, in-house projects can go up to $65,000. If it exceeds that, then we have to hire a private contractor and go out to bid, which is going to be much more expensive to use 100% city funds to provide that service or pave that street. So there are quite a few factors that come into that, but it has been a conversation that we have had for quite some time now about prioritizing and spending most effectively the city's money and the match money that we have. And at this point with this project, you look at this one and really it's about a 3-to-1 split, even if we were paying the entire match up front with city money, which we are not going to do. So you look at that economy that you're getting, and it is pretty great.
I would just like to add in here, as far as potential partners, I don't want to forget about the Conservation District, who could possibly be a partner with the stormwater issues and also the streetscape.
We have talked to John Bolander already, and we have contacted them. They are looking at it
Awesome,
and seeing
great.
if they can come up with a way that they can partner with us also.
Great.
But the two that we listed were two that we've already gotten confirmation from that they would partner with us, but we have been talking to John at the Conservation District already.
Great, thank you.
Can you explain, I'm not sure if too many people know what REIT stands for or what TIB stands for when you talk about
TIB
those.
is the Transportation
Right.
Improvement Board. It is a state-funded program that does transportation grants. And also, we are going to be coming back with a grant application in the near term that doesn't have the same deadlines as the August 18th deadline. But it is Relight Washington. They also do some illumination projects. So we are going to be coming back to this commission to discuss changing all of the remaining lights, illumination out there in the field that aren't LED lights at this point. And they have a grant program that is 100% funded to do, I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 210 lamps that are still out there that aren't LED converted. So we'll be looking at that. We've already contacted the PUD, and we actually are going to meet with them on the 9th of this month to discuss that moving forward also, which would be a fairly large savings in a monthly utility bill for the city, and also provide some better lighting out there also.
And then REIT. Can you
REIT is
explain?
a real estate tax.
Right.
So basically, the more homes that sell within the city limits, the more that we get from that. You've got a couple of different ones, and Nola might be able to answer this a little better. But I know REIT 1 and REIT 2, one is basically a transportation, and the other, I believe, is fire.
I'd have to verify.
Okay. But I believe REIT, the other REIT component is a portion that goes to fire and safety, public
Okay.
safety.
Thank you for clarifying that for
You're welcome.
the people out there.
Well, it appears after a lengthy discussion that this commission concurs to place this on the August 7th, 2017 action agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, on the next one, are you going to share as much as you shared on the last one? Doesn't a lot of this
I
tie
hope
in?
not. It should be basically the same.
You have all the time you want, young man.
The other grant application would be Turner Street, and basically it would just be new pavement and some stormwater upgrades throughout that system, but basically from 1st Street to 16th. It looks like it's about a $500,000 project, and the match on that for this application would be 10%. So we're only talking about $50,000 to get $500,000. So that would be a fantastic
Yeah.
project. One thing that I did leave out on here is it's 1st to 16th, and also at the top of the hill from Turner, on 16th from Turner to Harvard, which Harvard has just recently been
Oh.
paved also. So you're going to
Great.
get even more on that leg than what I mentioned in here. So there's a couple more blocks there to actually connect to some additional new pavement that we've got up in that area.
Questions or comments for Craig Gregory?
I love this, all this, that saving money. Spending, less from the city is exciting. So thank you very
We
much.
are trying to do our best to
Yeah.
not spend as much of our money as we're spending of somebody else's.
And Alder Street, that has been my dream, ever since you zipped it
Yes.
and made everything bumpy. It's great.
all his
Alder
fault.
has to be
We
done.
made it better. We didn't make
I know.
It actually is better.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm really happy to see projects being planned out, and I know that we'll be able to complete these. Is there, I know that there is not money in this grant for sidewalks on Turner. Do we have any kinds of plans for, in the future, for sidewalks or paths up there?
We do not at this point. This grant would be strictly for an overlay on that roadway. It would be difficult and very costly to put sidewalks up there. You've got some elevation issues.
Yeah.
I know they would be wonderful, but when we started looking at this particular grant and where it falls, sidewalks were not included, ADA ramps were not included, and this project would go from, I think we estimated it out, and it almost tripled in cost by doing the full stormwater upgrades and sidewalks. So,
Oh, I'm surprised actually it wasn't more than triple.
yeah.
And for the estimate. No, this will be great. I wish there were sidewalks, but this will be great.
Thanks.
So it appears that this commission concurs to place this item on the August 7, 2017 action agenda, and that concludes your report. Thank you very much. Next, we will ask our city administrator if he has anything to add at this time.
Just one thing, Mayor and Commissioners, we expanded the looking ahead through the end of the year, and I just wanted to point out that we have 5 fairly significant things for you to consider and vote on upcoming. So the first will be permit fees, which we're going to bring back to you, I believe, in 2 weeks. Following that, we're hoping to get information back about water and sewer rate model updates, and we're expecting to bring that information back to you should it go through. We will bring that back sometime in September to address the question as to whether or not those can be lowered. After that, we have a strategic plan update that staff are working on now, so that would be toward the end of the year. And all this is in addition to the 2017 budget amendment. We know we have a grant that we need to pay off, so that one is going to come forward in the next couple months. And then all of this needs to get done before we get going with the 2018 budget. So just a heads up that we have a busy 5 months ahead of us.
Very good. All right, our next meeting will be August 7th, 2017 at 6 p.m. in the evening. This meeting is adjourned.